Hey everybody, welcome to the Deep Focus Show. I'm Aidan,
I'm Clayton.
I'm Taavi.
and today we're continuing our series on Steven Spielberg, the director, obviously. His today the subject is his sophomore feature, which is the Sugarland Express, released 1974. So let's get into it. Did you guys have like a familiarity with this movie? Because I really only knew it as an early Spielberg film, kind of by name. I don't think I knew anything about it.
I knew this was his first feature film, and that's about it. Because I guess Duel is still a made for TV movie. Yeah,
Yeah, this
I
is
mean,
his first film made like intently for the theaters, not like made for TV and then picked up. Like,
yeah,
yeah, so it's kind of different in that sense.
Yeah. Basically, I knew about this film, but because it's in the Spielberg box set I have, and I've seen the cover plenty of times because of it, but never watched it before. So, a new one for me.
seems to be his most underlooked movie. But again, we're back into the
Yeah.
70s. Um, so this is new to us. This is his first feature film. We've only seen Duel. If we're approaching this from a fresh perspective, I don't know. Aiden, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can start out. Yeah, so the Sugarland Express is kind of a has similarities to Bonnie and Clyde or Badlands, movies like that about like the star-crossed lovers on the run from the law and that kind of thing. With this movie, it obviously had a bigger budget than Duel, which you can just tell. I mean, it's clear he's working with more resources, and so parts of the film look kind of more cinematic just by virtue of the scale that they can mount. But weirdly, I actually think on a different level in terms of the creativity of staging, I don't think this is as well done as Duel, actually, in my opinion. I think Duel had more creative shot composition and choice and that kind of thing. Um, I always say it's a bad sign for me when the most creatively shot part of the film is like the opening credits sequence, which I kind of thought with this. I thought that was really well executed, but a lot of the film is shot more for it feels like just linearly telling the story. Like there isn't a whole lot of um, very noticeable kind of uh, drastic creative decisions. It seems all in service of telling the story straight through. And in terms of the story, I think it's just kind of derivative of other like counterculture new Hollywood films, with Bonnie and Clyde being a pretty good example. Um, I think the acting's fine. I think just everything about the movie's fine. Like it's a solid film all the way through. Very competently executed, and there are some scenes that are staged and shot well. But I don't know. For me, it lacks that kind of manic edge of Duel, and for that reason, I don't think it succeeds nearly as much. I'm going right now with like a low 3.5. Um, I think it's a solid movie. Like it's obviously not bad. You're not going to get it's just a straight up bad movie with nothing to offer with a director like Spielberg. But for me, it's a 3.5. There were just, I don't know, some elements weren't so strong. Some elements were strong though. So overall, it's a mixed bag, but I think it's a good movie, not the upper echelon of 1970s cinema, but not an embarrassment or anything to really dislike.
Well, I think this is embarrassing. I think his first film, Duel. It's not embarrassing. It's fine. It's serviceable. It's you know it's a cheap thrill, and I can appreciate that in certain films. In fact, some directors even pull it off to good extent, like Panic Room, for example. That's a cheap thrill, but there's good direction there. This, while I can acknowledge that some shots are pretty well crafted, but I didn't like the screenplay of this at all. I thought the first 10 minutes of this film kind of felt promising to me, but it quickly becomes a train wreck. As a matter of fact, I think this has the opposite effect I had from Duel, and to be honest, it makes me appreciate it a little bit more in hindsight. But what I mean is, I feel like this feels more like a made-for-TV movie to me than that film did. And I say that even acknowledging the fact that I thought Duel felt like a made-for-TV movie to begin with, but at least it had interesting cinematic approaches and, action sequences that I thought were pretty well shot. I feel like this is just a little bit too cliche for my taste. I don't think it adds anything fresh or new to the table. I sort of wish these characters were a little bit more trashy, like kind of like the trash that you see in films like Raising Arizona, or most recently Sean Baker's Red Rocket. I feel like that would have kind of made me feel like I had sympathy for these characters because they're human. And these characters didn't feel real to me. This movie expects us to believe in these fugitives' pursuits just for the sole purpose that a mother needs to be with her child. And I don't know. I felt like the two leads, they were a little bit generic. I kind of had no sympathy for them at all. I just thought the plot was not really engaging. I'm going to give it 2 stars. I don't think it's great. I was kind of bored to tears by how formulaic it was, and even movies that are also so common for the 70s, directed by acclaimed directors like Spielberg is. I'm thinking of like Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore by Martin Scorsese. I feel like even that has more to offer than this, and I didn't care for that movie much at all either. I do like the closing shot by the lake. I think it's pretty, though. And my favorite part of the movie was whenever the credits showed up. Apparently, Pauline Kael loved this movie, and I find that pretty hilarious. Watch our Wells episode if you want to know more, what we think more about her. But as a Texan, I can confirm that we have more charm than these characters, and there's something to be said about watching a director's early work and determining if this person has potential. And I really hope this is the worst there is. But at this point, I'm not a big fan of Spielberg. I think maybe he has a little bit to offer, but I don't know. 2 stars is the low score I've given to every movie we've covered on this channel. So that's kind of a hopeful thing. We're covering directors that I think are good, and in this sense, none of them have below a 2-star scale. So I guess there's that, and the fact that I'm approaching Spielberg with fresh eyes. I really hope he does something different with his next film and makes a huge splash. Still 2 stars, so for the Sugarland Express.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I will say I'm a little surprised you have this below Duel. I was pretty confident that you'd have it above just because of like that it in ways feels more cinematic just by virtue of the bigger budget and kind of more ability to stage more complex sequences. Even if I personally like Duel more because I think it has a little bit more creativity. I don't know. I figured that you would like it a little more, but it seems not, I guess.
See, what's so funny about this film is that it's less silly. And I thought Duel was too silly, and this had the opposite effect for me. I wanted this to be a little bit more silly, because if you hone into that southern trash, which is kind of silly, that silliness, it can really make you feel like you're watching a movie that's based on reality. I mean, that's unfortunately the world we live in today. I'm not calling every Southern person trashy, but it's could have been a good opportunity for a slice of life. And no, I'm not. I'm certainly not calling any Southern person trashy. I'm a Southern myself. I live in Texas, so. But yeah,
It's a very dry film, yeah. In some scenes that works, it doesn't work more often than it does, though, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah. So the second Spielberg film, The Sugarland Express, and about the like Eugene and Clovis Poplin, who's trying to get their baby back, and like also the plan of to get Clovis out of jail, and they're traveling to the Sugarland with a unusual hostage, let's say. And yeah, I think I agree in the way that this feels like even more of an like professional film than Duel. I'm not sure did I have the exact same I think Duel is kind of fun to watch. I'm not sure is this as fun to watch, let's say. Like I was kind of entertained by it, don't get me wrong, but and yeah, it's the first one to have John Williams doing the music. I think he will do pretty soon more iconic work and like recognizable work too. But I think the acting is like pretty good. Like I don't think these are like the best roles probably that they can bring out, but they're fine. I think I think my review is gonna be really boring. It's just gonna be fine, basically.
well, it's just a
And
movie. I'll say that. This
I
is like
sorry.
it's the opposite of Oscar bait. It's like Razzie bait to me. By how like I gave it a 2
Hmm.
because of the like just the way some scenes were shot, but ugh,
I'm not sure
I
if I
get
can
it.
agree that far that it's a Razzie bait. I don't think I agree with that.
Oh well.
uh, perhaps you are, Clay, a little pickier about like if these are indeed like a southern characters about their like I wouldn't really know if like their um accent would be off or not. Like I don't know did you say about that in your review, but
Yeah,
like
the accent was pretty terrible too. It just doesn't
yeah
sound, you
yeah
know. I don't have a Texas accent, but I live here.
mm,
Um
yeah yeah
um and if they're
uh,
gonna mimic this, make it more silly. You know, give
mm,
me the other approach. Show me the lower class. I don't want whatever this is, you know.
yeah like yeah there was some like plot things I was like really like why exactly like I wasn't always sure like why they were so open about what they're gonna do later, like to the police chiefs and so on. Like they basically told about them where they're going and what they're gonna do, like they're going to the Sugarland, and that's like an easy trap to that the police can make for them, basically. And like I also not sure why they become so like praised by the public about this. sort of protest that they were doing. Like they're protesting that the state thinks that they can't keep a child, but they're still doing a really huge crime. So I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me, at least. But you know, and like there was plenty of cops following them from so long. Like I don't know, like there's so much brain power behind. If there's like I don't know, maybe there was like 20 cops or something. Like they probably should have gotten them earlier. Like I don't know. I like it that it, perhaps this is a like a nitpicking, but doesn't like feel like they sometimes tried enough, perhaps. But I guess I get it because they had to be like super careful too because they had the police like
I
with
agree.
them.
I feel like this movie tries to make you view the world in black and white, but the world's not like that.
Mm.
Yeah, I had major issue with that, especially with the child. The reasoning behind that, like you were saying. Um,
Yeah. So I'm gonna say it's a 3-star film. Like to me, it's fine. Like I didn't have a bad time perhaps with this, but it's not something I would go back to immediately, and probably Clay never really. But it's just another step before we're going perhaps to the more bigger Spielberg films really soon. And yeah, it's fine.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting. We have the same trajectory that we did with Duel. Taavi's in the middle again. He's our middleman here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm too positive. I need to start getting bad reviews. I don't know.
Hey, okay. I get it. I don't want to come off as a contrarian because I'm not. I love film. I do this because I speak passionately about things, and I don't want it to come off that I'm, you know, poking fun at a person's product that they spent time and effort on. You know, I appreciate art, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get it. I
Yeah.
mean, doesn't just because you appreciate art doesn't mean you have to blindly like defend every work of it. But yeah.
Some things I just cannot stand.
But we
Yeah.
are in agreement. We all think it was not as good as Duel, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
I basically just I had more fun with Duel. Like in some respect, I think this feels more of an like a I don't know is the professional right word for this, but like
Yeah, it
and
feels more like a like
yeah
a theatrical film. But I don't that's not that doesn't necessarily mean it's better for me. Like, there are
yeah
TV episodes I like more than feature films.
yeah. I think Duel is pretty like a pretty fun, pretty like a small sized, pretty cute.
Yeah,
It's
but
silly. You know what's interesting though. I just thought like I know television movies are very well crafted today. I don't know, are there any notable television movies of the 70s or 80s, don't say Duel, that you can think of?
a pretty
Hmm.
famous one I can name is Michael Mann's LA Takedown. That's a pretty well-known one. I think that one's pretty well received.
Okay, well, closing off our
Yeah.
Sugarland discussion, we want to reveal that after this, going to be over his 1975 film Jaws. It made a huge splash at the box office, and it will be my first experience with it. So you guys will be hearing first time reactions from me. I'm pretty sure both of you guys probably saw this classic, if
Yeah,
I recall.
Yeah.
And we do plan on closing this big Spielbergathon series with a mega ranking of everything, including the Fablemans that will hopefully be coming out while we're
As
still
we
doing
close the
this.
series, yeah.
Yeah. But we're gonna take a break after Jaws for about 2 to 3 weeks because Aidan will be MIA. But don't worry, we have another guest on, Tom, that we're going to still be ranking directors. I already mentioned Wes Anderson, but we'll also be doing Spike Jonze and another director that's closely related to him. So,
yeah. Yes,
bye-bye.
thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.